Yishem Adonai Baruch Matav Adolam. Our topic today, may Hashem's name will be blessed forever and ever, obviously. Our topic today is weighing and measuring on Shabbat. One of the very common things that you need to handle on Shabbat. People like to measure, for example, fever or amount to eat or to weigh for a diet. And so forth and so on. So, what is permitted and what is prohibited on Shabbat? So, the Rambam explained that our sages institute a prohibition against weighing or measuring on Shabbat, since a person may come to record the measurement in writing. And writing, obviously, it's prohibited on Shabbat. This is another aspect of their prohibition against engaging in act that is reminiscent of the business of a business transaction. The Tosfot, on the other hand, explained that this is an unrelated prohibition and that measuring is forbidden because it is ovdin the whole. It appears to be a weekly activity that detract from the sacred Shabbat atmosphere. This is a short introduction about measurement and measuring on Shabbat. Let me move this over here so it'll be easier. Okay, wonderful. So, weighing and measuring on Shabbat. It is forbidden to weigh things on Shabbat, whether one does so with a regular scale or with any other device. It is forbidden to weigh a person as well. It goes without saying that one may not operate an electric scale on Shabbat, especially people that are doing diets, for example. And he wants to weigh himself before the meal, and after the meal, especially with people that they are eating, Baruch Hashem, on Shabbat, regular meal, big meals. It's important for them to do that. On Shabbat, you should refrain from doing so. What about people that need to measure temperature, need to measure blood pressure, and so forth and so on? We'll see it in a minute. One wants to check his height. And there are on the wall something like a ruler, the numbers. You put yourself under it. Shalom. I hope you find an empty seat. How you been doing?
I think I'm going to have to squeeze in somewhere.
Right. Okay, it is forbidden to measure a person's height on Shabbat. Therefore, one may not stand next to a chart marked with symbols by which one can measure one's height. Very, very easy to remember. Now, the next halacha is something very common. People not feeling well, they want to take temperature for themselves, for the kids, for the baby. Is it permitted or prohibited? We learned that measurement and measuring and weighing on Shabbat is forbidden. So the halacha says the following. If someone feels ill on Shabbat, even if he does feel the need to lie in bed, he may measure his body temperature. Our sages did not forbid measuring in this case. It's permissible to shake down the temperature before using it so that it will register an accurate reading. Some opinion thought it's forbidden because you're changing something in this tool that you use in order to measure the temperature. But according to Sephardim, it's permitted. This is not considered an act of repairing a utensil, because when you take the measurement tool that measure the temperature, so you have to take it down to 0. Sometimes already been used, it's already on 97, 98, whatever number it is. You want to shake it down, it's permitted on Shabbat. It's not like you're fixing or you're erasing on Shabbat when you're calibrating this. This is not considered an act of repairing utensil. It is likewise permissible to measure someone's blood pressure using a manual spigometer, whatever it's called, on Shabbat. Yeah, someone join us. Okay. This is not considered an act of repairing utensil. Okay. In this case, the measuring is considered to be for the sake of a mitzvah, since maintaining one's health is a mitzvah, and therefore it is permitted on Shabbat. Okay? Please remember that using a battery-operated thermometer or this blood pressure device is prohibited on Shabbat. Chaim Shalom, please put yourself on mute, we can hear you. However, unless the patient is desperately ill and one has no manual instrument available. So when it's going to be permitted? When there is no other device to measure the blood pressure but this one with the batteries or the electrical one. Got it? Good. Remember we said someone is not allowed to measure on Shabbat. One of the reasons, according to the Rambam, is because you might take notes. But one wants to say, I'm interested to see how long is it from my house to my friend's house. Let me count the steps. Is it permitted on Shabbat or not? When you start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I missed one. It's too big of a step. Let me do the regular step. 1, 2, 3, and you stop all day long messing up with that. But it permitted or not permitted? Halacha is, it is permissible for someone to walk while counting his steps and then to calculate the approximate distance according to the number of steps he took, if he needs to know the distance on Shabbat. Our sages did not forbid such as an act of measuring. Another important question that sometimes people many people wants to do, especially on Pesach. On Pesach we're supposed to eat a certain amount of matzah, right? So, what's the minimum? Let's say I'm throwing the right number, it's not the discussion, 30 grams. I want to eat 30 grams of matzah. So I'm looking at the matzah, and I'm saying to myself, what is this matzah? Is it what's the way of it? Is it 30? It's less. I have to fulfill the mitzvah. Also, kazait. I need to eat small amount, half an egg size of bread every Shabbat in 3 meals, in the evening, in the lunch, and in the evening later. I need to measure what's the minimum amount. I don't like to eat bread too much. I'm on diet, but I want to know what's the minimum required. I need to have a tool so I can weigh it. So easily, when it's on it's on electrical scale, it's easy. You put it, you know exactly. What about, that's forbidden on Shabbat, electrical scale. What about regular scales? The one that goes with the needle? Yeah. It's not electrical. And I want to weigh, for sake of mitzvah, to know how much I should eat, minimum, on Shabbat. Can I do yes or no? Allah says, it is permissible to weigh things on Shabbat with a mechanical scale if it is necessary for the sake of a mitzvah. For example, not electric. Mechanical. For example, one may wish to weigh a roll to see whether is it kabeitza, the size of an egg, and is sufficient for fulfilling the mitzvah of eating on Shabbat meal, or to weigh a matzah to see whether it is a kazait, to half an egg size, and sufficient for fulfilling the mitzvah of eating matzah on Pesach evening. Whenever possible, one should measure these things in advance, before Shabbat begins. If one cannot do so, or he forgot to do so, he may weigh these things on Shabbat. Alright? So it's more common for people to do on Passover. I get it all the time. On Shabbat, people usually don't do that, but you see from this halakha that this is permitted. Okay. we're not supposed to weigh or measure on Shabbat, but we have to have a minimum amount of wine to say the bracha, the kiddush. So some people mistakenly have the small cups, the whiskey one shot. Mm-hmm. It's too small. Minimum required is 3 ounces. Now you have a cup. From whatever reason you want to measure, because, I don't know, you want to leave some for later, you don't have enough, you're just borrowing, so you want to have 3 ounces. And you want to measure that on Shabbat before you do the Kiddush. So the halacha says, it is permissible to measure a cup to see whether it holds the revi'it, which is 81 cc, of wine, to use it in the Kiddush, for Kiddush. One may do this by pouring this amount of wine into a measuring cup and then pouring the wine into the cup one intends to use for Kiddush. You look in shock. It's not something common you do, because thank God we have a lot of wine and we have a grape juice. There, Baruch Hashem, no lack of it. But in case something happens, the halacha. If someone has a doctor orders to limit his diet to a specific amount of foods, it is best that he measure the food he will need before Shabbat begins. If this was not done, one may measure the foods on Shabbat, but only by mechanical means, without any electric or battery operated devices. Makes sense? Remember, only in certain cases the battery operated will be permitted when it's really, really necessary, for someone that's really sick or whatever. Same apply for Yom Kippur. When the Rabbi or the doctor, after you're consulting with them, says you must eat on Yom Kippur, then you must eat. You don't say you play the brave one, the hero. I'm going to make efforts and I'm going to fast. The halacha says no. If you fast, you commit a sin. Why? Because you didn't listen to the Rabbi. The same Torah that told you to fast, the same one tells you not to fast. Can cause a damage to yourself, and who knows what's going to happen later. You're going to get sick and you miss more Torah. They told you to eat, you eat. Under some, guidance, how to eat, where to eat, how much, how many minutes, for how long. They'll give you all the details. So he wants to measure for Yom Kippur. So obviously, if someone is desperately ill and is ordered to eat on Yom Kippur, he may measure the food he eats each time to ascertain that it is less than kakotevet of food and less than melo lugmav of beverage. If possible, it is best that the portion be prepared for him before Yom Kippur begins. So you basically eat small pieces. Let's say you had a sandwich. So you take small pieces to your mouth. And if you have to drink the whole cup, you take small sips. One sip, you put it away. One sip, not to fill it in a way that will be your mouth full of it. Even when you're permitted to eat, you eat with measure on Yom Kippur. Unless it's a case you have to drink right now or whatever. But you got the idea. People saying, who measure? I never measure on Shabbat. Well, you forgot you had babies. Everybody measured for babies' food on Shabbat. Remember, Crystal? Chantel? Yeah. It was a long time ago, I know. When she was a baby, you have to measure the baby food. With the scoop and in the bottle. You want to know how much you put this and that, and you mix. People do that all the time. And they don't think about measuring on Shabbat. Yes, that's what you're doing. So it is necessary, if it is necessary, to measure the amount of food or formula an infant ingests, it is permissible to measure the food on Shabbat by mechanical means, but not to use an electric or battery-operated device. One may measure the amount of formula by using a baby bottle that is marked specifically to show how much the infant has taken. If estimating the amounts would be sufficient, it is preferable that one refrain from actually measuring the food or beverages. Even when it's permitted, remember, it's still Shabbat. If you already, no, it's 2 cups, flat cap, boom, boom, put it in, squeeze it. It's never accurate, the formula for babies anyways. I remember giving to my kids, and Baruch Hashem, we have a little bit of experience with kids. We gave them, and they were hungry all the time, so you have to make it thicker. A little bit more formula. Kolbe said that it depends on the baby. Some, it's going to cause, God forbid, stomach stuffed. Some will be, it's going to be too light. It depends on, it's very individual. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. I think we finished this part. Okay. How many times? Oh, Baruch Hashem. Go ahead.
It says, taking pain-relieving pills or syrup is forbidden on Shabbat unless the pain is extreme and causes overall body weakness and
This is from the book of Halacha?
Okay.
Give it to me. Let me do a few halachot from there.
Number 4 is where I read.
Number?
4. On the right page.
Oh, number 4 here. Taking pain-relieving pills or syrup is forbidden on Shabbat unless the pain isn't extreme and causes overall body weakness and high fever. Similarly, one who suffers from influenza, cough, and congestion may take decongestion. Congestion, right? Congestions. If one suffers high fever and body weakness, eye infection, and body weakness. Eye infection are categorized as element with risk and may be treated with prescribed drops, creams or pills. It's always best to consult with the Rabbi or someone that knows the halacha, because on Shabbat, the whole concept of taking, no taking, it's a little bit, confusing. Why? Today, it's much easier to take, God forbid, medication. You buy it, prescription, CVS, you drink and finish. Back then, you had to prepare it. You had to take herbs and mix it with another herbs and spices and grind it. It's all the whole thing. It was the whole spiel on Shabbat to make it fresh. Right? So today, the halacha is more lenient about it. If you got to take it, and it's going to disturb with oneg Shabbat, the pleasure of Shabbat, you may take it. So no hesitation, especially in the case of eye pain. You have pain in the eye, you don't play a game with that. You put whatever you need to put there, cream or eye drops. Even more than that, the Torah and our sages are very sensitive to one's health. If in Yom Kippur even, I'll take the extreme, Yom Kippur, that falls on Shabbat. You have the Kedusha of Shabbat, the Kedusha of Yom Kippur, and it's a holy day, and someone fainted, or doesn't feel well, and there's a lot of doctors in the shul, and they talk among themselves, should we call an ambulance, should we not call an ambulance, it's going to be okay. 10 doctors, no less, 10 doctors check them up and says, there's no need. Let him sit down, he relax, a few minutes he's coming back. He is the only one says, no, I feel I want to go to the hospital. 10 doctors says no. To whom you listen? To the patient, not to the doctor. Because it says, Yodea Adam Marat Nafsho. One knows better than all the doctors what he feels. He knows it's Shabbat, and he knows Yom Kippur, and nevertheless, he feels that he needs to go to the hospital. You don't play games with that, because all of them can be mistaken. You listen to him, you call an ambulance, and you take him immediately to the hospital. And it's not a sin for him. Okay? So the Torah is sensitive to someone's life. Because the Torah brings life. I want you to live longer so you can do more mitzvot and do more tikkun olam in this world. Let me continue. Prescribed antibiotics, which must be taken for a number of consecutive days according to a doctor's order, may be taken on Shabbat, as skipping, right? Maybe as skipping even a single day may cause harm to the individual. So, especially with antibiotic, even the doctor is saying, even if you feel better, you got to take it. You got medication for 10 days. After 4 days, you feel clear. They says, even though you must take it, even if you don't feel, the bacteria might be not, fully gone. So if now you stop, it means they're going to regrow and multiply, and they're going to overcome the antibiotic you took, and maybe next time you'll have to take a stronger antibiotic, if at all. So this is why you have to finish the term. Okay? Just so you know, many people never take antibiotic, even if they have infections. And if they don't take and the body survive, it means now they're immune from that. Because antibiotic in one hand is really helping, but in the other hand can cause the body weaken and cause a lot of troubles and problems. In some countries, I have to have the signature of 2 doctors. In some countries, it's banned. I didn't check, that in Holland, antibiotic is banned for many years, and therefore, you see, people there living longer life, healthier life. Sometimes it sounds like the antibiotic is the easy solution, the quick solution to get rid of sore throat and stuff like that. Okay, don't take my words on that. Do your own due diligence. It is permissible to take vitamins, sleeping pills, tranquilizers, anti-sleep pills, or any pills that are not taken for medical purposes on Shabbat. Okay, it's also permissible. Next, it is best to refrain from exercise and use of all exercise machinery and weights on Shabbat. An ill person who is instructed by a doctor to perform daily physiotherapy exercise may perform them on Shabbat. It is also wholly permissible to take walks on Shabbat, and even to walk distance greater than necessary for health reasons. It is forbidden to massage a healthy person on Shabbat. Okay. Okay. What's the next one? Is also? The next one is also on the curriculum. Where's the list?
In the front.
Huh?
Front.
In the front? Okay, give me a second.
Oh, you're the front. We cut.
You don't have it here? Okay. One, let me go back then to the halachot before.
It was about measuring and then about when you're sick.
Okay, one may not transgress the Shabbat prohibition written in the Torah for the sake of an ill person who is not at risk. Meaning, don't be too light on, hey, let me take you to the hospital. Not every little cat needs to be taking someone to the hospital. Sometimes you need to calculate the situation, and if you can wait till Motzei Shabbat, after Shabbat, it's better. Okay? However, prohibitions instituted by Chazal, by Rabbi, may be performed. If a limb of the body is at risk, one may perform a prohibition instituted by Chazal, the rabbis, even without a shinui. We don't need to do it in a special way. Yet, if no limb is at risk, The prohibitions may be performed only with a shinoi, with some measurement, not in the regular manner. To carry. We have always to remember this is Shabbat. Okay. Let me go back here. Let me do one of these. Okay. I don't have the list. Okay. Let's do 2 more halachot for today, and we're done for today. Speech on Shabbat. This is something we already talked before. I'm just going to pick up halacha. Remember we talked that speech on Shabbat need to be with respect about the Shabbat. But if I say respectfully to my friends, listen, Shabbat is over in 2 hours. Don't forget to come with your car, and pick me up. We'll go to the store. Shabbat is over by 8:15, I'm waiting for you. He said it very nicely. Can you do that on Shabbat? He's not driving on Shabbat. He's just told his friend to come after Shabbat. I can, 8 o'clock, it's too close, I have to do Havdalah. Can you come at 8:15? Allah Chayez. It is forbidden for someone to tell another person directly, be ready with your car after Shabbat. I need you to take me somewhere. Or like the example I told you. If it is necessary for the purpose of a mitzvah, however, it is permissible in any case. One may hint to the other person that he needs to ride right after Shabbat. So, just hint. See you after Shabbat. Right? Give me 15 minutes after Havdalah for the sake of mitzvah. Otherwise, you're showing disrespect for Shabbat. You're like waiting to Shabbat to be over. And you wait Shabbat go away and you can drive already and go wherever you want to go. So you don't make any preparation for Saturday night on Shabbat. Like washing dishes, getting dressed. Some people have event Saturday night. It's prohibited to change clothing on Shabbat so you can leave immediately after Shabbat. Why? Because the preparation been done on Shabbat. It's not for the honor of the sake of Shabbat. You're desecrating Shabbat by doing so. Okay? So, you can't, even dishes, you're supposed to leave in the sink. When you eat the Sudah Shlishit, the third Sudah, you leave it there. The only thing it's permitted is cups. Why? Because cups, you people using all the time. You must have to have available cups. The dishes you have to keep away. Why? Because you don't really need it. You finish the Sudah. You're not going to use it the next hour. It's for next Shabbat maybe, or for Sunday. So you leave it in the sink. You have to show respect for Shabbat. When one understands that all the power and the blessing he gets from the Shabbat that he observed, then he will treat Shabbat accordingly, with respect. But you just wait for the Shabbat to go so you can smoke, so you can drive, so you can do whatever. So it's like, you're desecrating Shabbat. Shabbat is not important for you. You're suffering on Shabbat. Suffering Shabbat, you don't understand the value of Shabbat. Okay, I don't know about you, but I'm from Sunday, I'm waiting on Shabbat. Just today, I'm thinking to myself, what is today? Tuesday. Oh my God, tomorrow is Wednesday. It's the end of the week. I feel like we didn't do anything, right? But on the other hand, I said to myself, okay, it's the end of the week. What it means? It means that Shabbat is coming. Shabbat is coming. It's a good news. Okay? Last halacha. It is permissible to hire a non-Jew on Shabbat to perform services that are permissible for a Jew to perform on Shabbat. For example, one may hire a non-Jew to be a waiter at a large Shabbat meal as long as no discussion of his wage, the money he should get, takes place on Shabbat. Toda Rabba, everybody that join our shiur, our class. God bless you. Bezrat Hashem, see you next week. Same time, but probably same place. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We're going to have Bezrat Hashem shiur for the Zohar regularly at the Granite's house tomorrow, 7 o'clock, continuing the very important topic we discussed last week. Wednesday, 7 o'clock, here in the neighborhood, by the Granite's house. We're sending a message with all the details. Shabbat tov.